Thank you. Thank you and welcome. I am not Adam. Adam has just emailed in to say he had a small bump in his car on the M25, so won't be coming. But he said everything's fine, he's just got to wait for the AA and so on. As fine as those things can be. So we did have a meeting this morning with the officers, and I have got the notes, but it means that if I have thinking time, can you please leave me to have thinking time? And if you're going to refer to something, you're going to have to refer to the page, etc., so everyone can find it. Because I've not brought my notes this morning. Thank you. I'd like to welcome officers and members to this Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting, and welcome anyone watching online via North Herts Council YouTube channel. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite the committee member and scrutiny manager to explain how proceedings will work and to undertake a roll call of those attending online. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, so we're joined by two officers this evening remotely. We've got Lisa McDonald. Can you hear us and can we hear you?
Good evening, I can hear you and I'm present.
Thank you, Lisa. And Rachel Cooper as well.
Good evening, yes, I can hear you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. So if a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on the microphone unit in front of you. The microphone will light up green and the chair will be alerted of your request to speak. When the chair invites you to speak, your microphone will be made live and will turn red, at which point you can speak. Please can I remind you that the normal procedure rules in respect of debate and times to speak will apply. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown around the room, and the result will be visible on the YouTube stream. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we proceed with the meeting? No. Thank you. Back to you then, Chair.
Thank you. Item 1, apologies for absence. I received apologies from Councillor Matt Barnes. Having given due notice, Councillor Lisa Nash was substituted for Councillor Barnes, and also apologies from Adam Compton. Are there any further apologies? No, I think everyone's here. Item 2, minutes of the meeting on the 20th of June 2023. I would like to propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 20th of June 2023. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, Councillor Nigel Mason. Are there any comments on the minutes? No. Can we have the vote, please, on the minutes?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you. Item 3, notification of other business. There is none. Item 4, Chair's announcements. In accordance with Council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded as well as being filmed. The audio recording will be available on the NHDC website and the film recording via NHDC YouTube channel. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on the agenda. For the purpose of clarification, 4.8.23a of the Constitution does not apply to this meeting. Therefore, a member may leave the room during the debate and consideration of that item and be able to vote. However, please do be mindful of the business on the agenda, wherever possible, leave an appropriate point in the proceedings. Item 5, public participation. There is no public participation. Item 6, urgent general exception items. There are no urgent items. Item 7, called-in items. There are no called-in items. Item 8, members' questions. There have been no members' questions received. Item 9, resolutions of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Eleanor Hopcraft to present.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I've just got a short update on the resolutions report coming to you guys tonight. So following the publication of this report and conversations with the Chair and Vice Chair, the Task and Finish Group on Communication and Engagement has been cancelled. The draft Sustainability SPD has been moved to November's Cabinet, and the Design SPD is currently in the scoping and work programming stage. The latest LGA peer review was presented at the last meeting of the committee. Actions from the report have now been included in the appendix to the work programme report, and most of the actions are ongoing. The referrals to Cabinet have also been added to the resolutions report, so the committee can actively follow up on recommendations. There were 4 referrals made to Cabinet at the last meeting, with all of them considered and recommendations were approved by Cabinet. That's everything from me, Chair.
Thank you, Eleanor. Do members have any comments or questions for Eleanor? Councillor Munson?
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to congratulate Eleanor Hopcroft on her appointment as the Scrutiny Officer. And it's very, very good that we're actioning on the recommendations from the Local Government Association. So congratulations. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Do we have any debate? No? So the recommendation is that the content of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee resolutions be noted. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Griffiths, and a seconder, Councillor Mason. Should we go to the vote?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item 10, Annual Safeguarding Report. Councillor Alistair Willoughby to present.
Thank you, Chair. You should have had a chance to read the report now, so I won't go into a great deal of detail, but I will highlight a few parts for you. So in the year 22-23, the total number of referrals is 658, which is the same as the year before, though there are a slight change in the type of referrals. The total number of adult referrals for 22-23 is now at 370, which is a 6% decrease in comparison to 21-22. Total number of child referrals is 288, which is an 8% increase in comparison to 21-22. We have seen an increase in mental health referrals due to the current cost of living crisis, as you may imagine. Many statutory and third sector organisations providing mental health support report that demand currently far exceeds resources. Obviously, these long waits for treatment can be quite distressing for the individuals, but also more time consuming for officers looking to provide alternative sources of support. We are working with Hertfordshire County Council, so they've put together a food aid providers list, which has been shared with individuals in need of that. SADA have commenced a project for us in North Parts. The project is working in particular areas where we know there is underreporting of domestic abuse and high levels of deprivation. And new data from Refuge warns that the cost of living crisis is forcing survivors of domestic abuse to stay with abusive partners. The team will review the audit actions that arose out of the recent safeguarding audit and try to address these of specific relevance to this committee. Now, the recommendations numbered 2, councillor/member safeguarding training. Member training uptake has been low. The SIAS have recommended that all members complete the e-learning module, and that is particularly important to the membership of this committee as the overseeing body. The actions completed between April last year and March this year. We have delivered introductory, basic and advanced child and adult safeguarding training to officers. We have maintained good partnership working on various bodies, as well as undertaking the other actions outlined in the report under paragraph 8.2. We've also made ongoing contributions to domestic homicide review panels involving North Hertfordshire residents. There have been 3 historic DHRs re-reviewed following Home Office consideration, with one from 2018 being finalised and published on the Heart Sunflower webpage during 2023, and one from 2022 currently being considered by a DHR panel. Regarding future working, and set out in paragraph 8.3, there is things to highlight. The team will continue to promote local and national campaigns, which will include the National Stalking Awareness Week, World Elder Abuse Day, Labour Exploitation Week, and the Anti-Slavery Day. We will be offering bespoke training on mental health hoarding behaviours. There will also be a continuation with the work in partnership with SADA to manage domestic abuse referrals and to support staff managing these cases. The team will be looking to complete the SIAS audit action set out under Appendix B, with specific reference to this committee that a number of actions have already been completed, marked green. Otherwise, from the low recommendations, one, that action plans from HSAB and HSCP issued assessments to be reported to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And two, I would flag the medium recommendations, number 2, counsellor/member safeguarding training. All members complete the e-learning module, and that is of particular importance, as stated before. If anyone has any questions, then please, Lisa, Jeanette, or I will be able to.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Billing?
2 questions. Well, one's a question, the other one's a question as well. Do you have a breakdown of where most of the referrals come from? And 2, can there be a way that members can, because I obviously in my role, sorry, I should face that way, in my role as an antisocial behaviour officer, I have to do safeguarding at work. And it seems pointless that I'm having to do it twice when I'm learning the same thing. And I wondered if there is a way that it can be self-certified in a way.
Can I just take up the first one, because we actually discussed it this morning and Lisa has got the answer to it. Lisa?
Good evening all. Bear with me 1 second while I just pull up the data. So yes, we did have a brief discussion this morning, and I've done a comparison for the last 3 years. I've gone back to 2020 to 2021, right through to 2023. So in 2020 to 21 year, we had 494 referrals. Of those referrals, 98% were made by North Hart Council staff, which consist of care line, customer service, the housing team, environmental health. We had 9 external referrals made by, external parties, which these consist of like contractors. So from Urbisa, John O'Connor, members of the public raising concerns directly as well. Of those referrals made by North Hart's council staff members, 2 referrals, which is 0.4% of our referrals, were intercepted by the internal safeguarding team, where we requested for further referrals to be made by the officer. So for an example, if we had an incident form come through where we felt that they've consented for a SPA referral, which is a mental health referral, single point access, we would then go back to the officer and ask that they submit that on behalf of the client. In year 2021 to 22, as identified by Councillor Alistair, there were 658 referrals made. Referrals made to North Hart's Council from external parties were 6. Referrals made from North Hart's Council staff members was 99%. And we had 4 referrals which were intercepted again by the safeguarding team internally, where we requested for further referrals to be made. These were internal incident forms received. Year 2022 to 23, there were 658 referrals. The referrals made to North Hart from external parties were 3. Referrals made from North Hart's council staff members is 99%. And internal safeguarding team intercepted 5 incident forms, which required an additional referral onto another party in terms of like Hertfordshire County Council for further support. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Question 1.
Thank you. Your second question was about the safeguarding training. Can I just add to it a little bit, because what came up this morning was the question of whether we could make the training compulsory. and then add the fact whether if it's duplication, whether you should have to do it. Maybe Jeanette Thompson could answer that, please.
So in respect of employee, it is now agreed, or it has been certainly for a number of years, that they will obviously undertake whatever is the appropriate level for them. The only difference that we've since introduced in July is that we're asking anyone, regardless of what sort of level of training that they have, that they undertake that e-learning within the first couple of days, so that regardless if we have to then wait to arrange for more, the more complicated or bespoke training, they will do that. Obviously, members, I think this committee has on a number of occasions and over a number of years made recommendations that this is compulsory or mandatory, however you want to term it. It's just obviously making sure that we can agree that that's taken forward. E-learning, it's obviously about 30 minutes. So anyone here that hasn't done it, please do so, because we do get this hauled up every single time we have an audit. And I know you have to log in for that and obviously go through our Grow Zone, but I'm sure the team will help you if you need to.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? The question about duplication.
So sorry, is this duplication of employee training? What do you mean? So I think a couple of years ago, we were trying to design if you like, a self-audit. So when members are actually newly elected or whatever year, that they should fill out and say, I've undertaken this type of training. Do I need to do it again? I think the consensus was no. I think, again, it just is a bit difficult getting the forms back to make sure that we don't nag people unnecessarily. But yeah, it's understood that if you have done that, or if you are training, because there's various different members that have key roles or are teachers or whatever, and they've done this, so they don't need to do it again with us.
Into Alistair. Thank you. Councillor Munster.
Thank you, Chair. And just looking at the report and particularly the data, it is quite concerning that we do seem to have an increase in the number of cases involving both children and adults. And therefore, I was just wondering if we have the data as to sort of how this trend compares to other areas across the county and where we place.
Alistair.
To pass that to Lisa to
Lisa, please.
give you some.
Unfortunate time of receiving or presenting this report coming to you, we hadn't received the figures from Hertfordshire County Council. So if I can allow to take that action and then provide an update for you, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
That's okay. Councillor Levitt.
Similar question to Councillor Munster, actually. Looking on page 21 at the breakdowns for reasons for referral, there are three there are really outstanding significant differences. The overall change is 0%. However, we look at the child at risk of significant harm, that's gone up about 50% from 38 to 51. But the adult one has gone up from 29 to 108. Although the domestic abuse has fallen, which I think is something we were expecting post-COVID. But do we have any reasoning or any particular more detail behind those two increases on the significant harms in adults and children?
Councillor Willoughby.
If I can pass over to Lisa.
Lisa, are you there?
I am sorry, my internet seems to be lagging ever so slightly, so apologies. Okay. Obviously, I'm relatively new to the organisation. I've been in post just short of 10 months now, so it's difficult without having to go back through and look at every single case and, you know, to understand what the differences have been and why there's been an increase when I'm only sort of 10 months into the organisation. I'm not sure, Jeanette, if you know, previously you've had any themes or trends picked up that you're able to elaborate on.
I think it will be better if we come back to you on that, because otherwise I'm just literally going to be plucking things out of the air.
Fair enough. Thank you, Lisa. Councillor Wright Mason.
I've heard that within the national referral mechanism for modern slavery, there are issues around people who have no recourse to public funds. I was just wondering if these numbers were included in table 8.1.
Lisa, could you answer that, please?
Yes, I can confirm that the figures are recorded within that table for any ones that referred for the national record, NRM, yes.
Thank you. Is that fine? Something that came up at our meeting this morning was about the kind of information you as councillors get. And Lisa was showing us the information she gathers together. Is it possible, Lisa, for you to share your screen and show us, say, May's information to see if the councillors think no? Oh, right. Okay. Okay. I'll try and describe it then. Lisa showed us what is produced internally, which is it's done as tables, but it's I thought quite user friendly, and was the sort of information as councillors that we might like, and that possibly would like to trial putting this in MIS to see if it's useful. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. So rather than getting percentages, you're getting words. I've blown your minds, have I? Totally. Can I suggest then that we just try it out? So if you see it at MIS, you know where it's come from, and it's just another way of trying to give you as much information as possible about safeguarding. Right, thank you, Lisa. So, any more questions? No. Debate. Councillor Munson.
Thank you, Chair. I just sort of want to add my comments to this, because it is somewhat reassuring to hear that the rising referral rates aren't reflective of an increase in abuse within our communities, but due to the action taken by the council to increase awareness, particularly of domestic violence, and I think that is to be commended. But it is clear from the report of the Shared Internal Audit Service that there is work to be done, and more work to be done. And we have 6 recommendations there, and I'm really pleased to see that the council and our officers are working to implement those recommendations. And I look forward to receiving an update when we have this annual update next year to see actually the progress of which we've made to ensure that the children and the vulnerable adults in the district are given protection. Thank you.
Do you have on hand what page it is so that other councillors can can see those?
Forgive me. That section in particular was on page 21. Page 21, paragraph 8.1.1.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Give everyone a chance to have a little look at that. So we'll come back to those next year. Okay, any other? Oh, Councillor Wright Mason.
Yeah, I was just more of a general question on sort of our fulfillment of safeguarding. I know that the replacement of the deprivation of liberty safeguards with the liberty protection safeguards has been delayed, but I'm aware that a lot of councils are quite worried that it will greatly increase the number of referrals about these things. I was just wondering if we had a sort of plan about that, or if you think there'll be any issues in maintaining our safeguarding function once it's been implemented.
Councillor Willoughby.
Sorry, can I ask for some clarity on the question? Are you asking if we have confidence that when as things develop, we will keep up with our duty?
Yeah, no, essentially, I think once I think the liberty protection safeguards lowers the threshold for referrals, which might result in a increase in referrals. So I was just wondering if there was a plan in place or if you thought there was any concerns.
Well, certainly we identify concerns, as you can see in the table here. We do identify concerns that fall below the threshold already. So if it does fall below the threshold currently and the threshold is made lower, then we should still be picking up on that. Whether we then pick up on stuff that is even below that, obviously we would endeavour to do so. Is
that okay? Thank you. Any more questions or statements? So the recommendation that the county be recommended to 2.1 receive and comment on the annual report of progress made against the council's fulfilment of the statutory duty to maintain an effective safeguarding function regarding children, adults, modern slavery, domestic abuse. 2.2, note the recent shared internal audit service, SIAS, and audit, which is Appendix A, and its action plan tracker, Appendix B. 2.3, agree that sufficient and robust processes are in place at the council for application review of safeguarding processes, as an annual review and presentation of this committee should continue. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Levitt's proposing, and a seconder, please, Councillor Griffiths. James, can we go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11, first quarter 2023-2024 update on the council delivery plan. Rachel Cooper to present. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I have got a little bit of a cold, so please excuse me if my voice gives out. I'll keep going as long as I can. So this is the Q1 update on projects that were first brought before this committee in March 23 and subsequently approved by Cabinet for monitoring in this year. It is intended to be an involving document, so we are responding to feedback on the report format and content, and some of the report this time is reflective of that. So on the report itself, 8.2, just to say that any proposed changes to milestones, so whether we're proposing changes in dates, they're new milestones, or if there are any new performance indicators, these are highlighted in yellow on Appendix A for ease of reference. 8.4 of the report, just to clarify that the overall completion status of projects is based on the current target for completion. So if milestones are changed, it does not currently show the original due date. So we're now looking at how we can incorporate the original due date on the report to aid transparency, so that you're able to see any agreed changes to milestones that have taken place without having to go back through past reports. 8.5, at the last meeting in June, there was a discussion around whether there should be some prioritisation within the council delivery plan. So we took this conversation away to Performance Risk and Management Group in August, where that continued, and this is linked to the resourcing risk that's outlined in 8.7 of this report and the slippage in a number of milestone dates. So there can be reasons for changes in milestone dates, but if some projects were higher priority, then we should expect that there should be less date moving on those projects. There are a large number of projects on the plan, so there should be consideration as to which ones are genuinely a priority. So informal discussions with Cabinet members have started on this. and it's intended that this will be considered and presented alongside the Q2 update coming to committee in December, January. So 8.6, the council delivery plan at the moment currently shows all milestones, so that includes the completed ones. We are proposing to remove the completed milestones from the report once they've been through committee. So this is to try and help us keep the report as short as possible. So you're just looking at what is still left to be done against each project. The only downside to that is it's not as easy to see the link between the milestones and the percentage completed. So this is why members are being asked to comment on this proposal. So all of the milestones will still be retained on Pentana if members wish to see them. It's just that the report will just include milestones to be completed. Also, at the last meeting in June, members requested a detailed update on the resourcing risk. So this has been provided at section 8.7 of the report. So it outlines the risk itself, which is made up of two parts. So the factors affecting the demand on resources and what we could potentially do to help with that. And then the factors that affect the supply of resources. So it is a red risk and is reviewed every 3 months. So Appendix A is the council delivery plan update for the quarter, and page 67 shows the status key. And the progress bar shows the percentage complete based on the milestones to be completed in this reporting year. So this is not the whole project. So for example, Churchgate is showing a 66%. Obviously, this will be a multi-year project. So that percentage actually relates to what we're hoping to achieve in this financial year. So the milestones stated in the report itself. So page 68 lists all 27 projects and their status. So the amber projects are now shown at the beginning of the reports. They've just been reordered for ease of use. And we've got 5 projects in this quarter that are showing with an amber status. So these are due to milestone slippage and potential requested changes to dates. So the 5 that we have here are Churchgate. So we have a delay in appointing the consultant due to timing, procurement, holiday season, and the longer lead-in period than expected on the consultant starting with us. And also the digital hub requirements for more training considerations as well. The second amber is the new ways of delivering housing on council land. So delays are due to resourcing issues within the estates department. So resident public EV charging in our car parks. So changes to milestone dates again requested due to OZEV application process taking longer and their request for further clarifications on our application. Royston Leisure Centre solar thermal. So delays were due to unsuccessful procurement exercises, so no bids received. And then a decision was made to get a feasibility report to look at the ongoing viability of the project itself. And town centre strategies, again, the delays and milestone date changes due to resourcing issues within the service area. So there are 3 other projects currently shown as green. That are requesting date changes to future milestones. So they've not been missed yet, but they know that those are going to slip. So these projects are Charnwood House, so page 75 of the report. Due dates need to be changed as the marketing period has to be longer than originally expected. So it's also an asset of community values, so further considerations have to be taken into account. Financial sustainability and balancing our budget, page 80, milestone request date change for the response to government consultation as that's been delayed. And then pursue commercial leasing opportunities for Royston Town Hall Annex. So page 89, and that again, the milestones are changing due to resourcing issues in the estates department. But also HCC not engaging regarding acquisition of rights over their land. So there are 4 new performance indicators that have been introduced in this report since it came to committee in March. Local Authority Housing Fund on page 84, there are 2 PIs that relate to the number of houses to be delivered via round 1 allocation of funding. So the targets are now shown against those indicators, and it's expected that the data will be available at the end of the year. So the next project, solar PV on leisure centres, on page 91, so has performance indicate now units of solar electricity generated, and this is there for information and will be reported once the project has been completed. And then the final PI, we've got the percentage of social value committed on page 98. So we have now gone live with our social value portal. The first project going through there, and data will be available as soon as the contract is underway. So just a reminder that all data can be viewed in Pentana, the Council's performance and risk software, and the link can be found on the intranet page alongside guest login details and a procedure note that tells you how you can view the data. And then finally, just to say, it is intended for the report to provide a brief overview of each of the projects and their associated risks with all the data collected from various service areas. So if members would like to know any further detail on any of the projects or risks, please request this, and the detail can then be provided as part of the next monitoring report. And this will also allow us to try and make sure that the relevant exec member or lead officer can be present at the meeting to answer any questions that you may have. So obviously I can take any questions and try to answer them as best I can. Some of them may be taken away. Also, just to note that there were 3 questions raised by Councillor Barnes prior to the meeting relating to projects, and the responses and the questions have been circulated to all committee members via email. So that's all I was going to mention, Chair, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions for Rachel? Councillor Munster.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to point out this report was produced, generated on the 21st of August. That's 3 weeks ago. I have got a question here. I was just wondering, would it be possible in the future for the report to be generated closer to the time of the meeting? Because I'm aware a number of the dates, the due dates are the 31st of August, and it would be very, very good to see if actually we are meeting those targets. That's just my first question. I have a few.
To take that one back, because that's something Rachel's going to have to think about, and I heard you talking about it before.
Yeah.
I thought that then. Second question.
Well, that's all right. Thank you. Just on Churchgate. So you said that the consultant hasn't yet been appointed and the in-person and online hubs aren't yet set up. The due date for that was the 31st of August. Is that still the case, or are we going to have to push that date back another time?
The consultant has been appointed. It's just that there's a longer lead-in period for them starting work with us, which is why there has been some delay on that.
Okay, thank you. And what about the in-person hubs?
The in-person hubs, I don't have any further update other than what's in the report, but I can take that away. I believe it's the training implications that it's causing them some problems with resourcing, but I can certainly take that away as to when that can be expected. Is that what you would like to see?
That would. I'm just then going to move on to...
No.
Is that all right? I've got a couple more questions.
At the end,
yeah.
Anyone else had a chance? Councillor Bevitt, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of points I want to bring up, referring particularly to paragraph 8.4 on page 62 and 8.6 on the following pages, which is about the milestones. And 8.2 is referring to the fact about the milestones never refer back to the original project dates. It's always on the new dates. So it gets a green, even though in some cases, like the museum storage, for instance, it's it's actually about 2 or 3 years behind now, at least that. But that's not reflected because it's been updated. Milestone's been updated from the original, and that's not reflected. Therefore, it always looks like the project's getting a green tick. But we know, in fact, that they're not. They're a long way behind. So I think the suggestion in 8.4 is that we find some way of recording that original date of when the project was originally due to complete. And I think that's really important that we do see that. I've gone back through a couple of these today, and it's quite surprising that one of them went actually back to 2017 when its original completion date was, and that was the pay on exit system.
I
but-
was gonna say
but-
that's something again we discussed this morning.
Yeah, but
And
I thought part of the point of the meeting was that we can bring these things out and, you know, highlight the fact that the committee would
Okay.
like to see.
I was
these
going to say give
things.
Rachel a chance to reply. That's
Yeah. And just on 8.6, while we're on the same thing as well, about milestones and removing them, part of the point of this report was so we had everything in one place and didn't have to keep referring back to this and referring back to that, and everything was on place. Yeah, there are on Pentana. It might get a bit unwieldy, but Pentana has to be accessed through the intranet, which we don't always have easy access to. Yes, it might get a bit unwieldy eventually, but for the moment, I would like to see everything still in one place, which was the original purpose of doing this report. Public would like to see it as well.
Rachel, do you wish to comment on that? Still there?
On the milestones. So I think with regard to changing the dates, I think we're keen that there is transparency in the reports, that members are aware, because generally there are genuine reasons for why milestone dates need to be changed. So I think we can have the original date, the change date, and then the report that goes to Cabinet outlines the reasons why the milestones are requesting to be changed. So that will always come through overview scrutiny as well. So you will see that through the progression of projects. So we can keep that on the report, try and get that on the report so that you can actually see that. That's fine. We think that's a good idea for transparency. As I say, we always try to give the reasons for the milestone date changes on every report. So there is a trail of it all the way through when we're reporting to committee, but obviously it's quite onerous to have to go back through previous reports to be able to see a history. The other thing we can do, obviously, where we say we can provide detailed updates on projects, one of the things we can do, part of that, is give the history of the project. So how it started, whether it's faltered, whether it's come off the plan, gone onto the plan, that kind of thing. So if there are any particular questions around projects, you know, we have all the history there that we can go back and retrieve. So if that's something you would want on a project basis, so there's one specific project you would like that information for, then obviously, again, we can take that away and make sure we get that detail.
Thank you, Rachel. Can I just ask, do we all use Pentana? Do we need some Pentana training? Is that a nod of the head? Yes.
Yeah.
Generally, do we feel we need Pentana training? Especially if you're new. Okay. Can we make a note of that, please? So where are we now? So the debate, any other comments? Councillor Wright Mason?
Yeah, I was just wondering, on the supply side of the risk factors, it mentions about staff retention and recruitment, which I have heard before. I was just wondering if you had any views on sort of why that is, and if there's anything else that we could be doing about it.
I think the risk owner of this obviously is the service director resourcing, which HR falls under that directorate. And I think that they're doing an awful lot of work around trying to recruit in different ways. So use of social media, for example, looking at how we advertise our opportunities to make them more attractive, and promoting the benefits of working for local government alongside everything else. So I think they're doing all they can. There are some hard to recruit service areas that are outlined in the report, and our use of agency staff sort of is highlighting the difficulties in those areas, even difficulty in getting agency staff as well. So I think it's not just us. I think it's a sort of common problem across local government in certain areas, and we acknowledge that, and I think HR and the service areas are doing all they can to try to mitigate that, but there's only so much we can do. We can't offer more pay, so they look at other areas, other ways of being able to attract and recruit staff, but they are actively working on that in the service areas.
You, Councillor Mason.
On that latter point on recruitment, I know that the NHS locally probably faces a lot of the same challenges, and one of the things that NHS trusts are doing is looking to offer to recruit people across more than one employer. So in this case, across more than one authority, and you can offer sometimes you can offer a better career prospect, as it were, a more varied work experience or whatever else, and make the post more attractive by offering posts across more than one authority. In this case, I wonder if that was something we'd looked at.
Rachel, do you have an answer to that?
I don't have an answer for all of that. Obviously, I know we have experience of having shared posts across authorities. So, for example, shared procurement officer at some point in the past between ourselves and East Herts. But obviously that came with its own difficulties, and in the end led to us sort of recruiting our own sort of full-time procurement officer and then recruiting their own full-time because they needed a whole person. But yeah, I think we're open to most workable suggestions on how we could attract people into posts.
Thank you. Lisa, did we have Chloe? Was she shared?
Yeah, that we have a shared waste contract at the moment as well. So we have one contract manager for that.
Thank you. Councillor Munster, one more question.
Well, Chair, I'm somewhat perplexed because I do have a number of questions for Rachel. I know she's not the authority on everything. Well, it may be shocking, but our job here is to hold executive
you need
members
to
and
write
officers to account.
Right.
And in the future, that's what I may do. But in the meantime,
before the meeting,
well, and I will certainly try and do that. But in the meantime, we are here this evening. Our job is to hold executive members and officers to their account, and that is certainly what I intend to do. If that is okay with you, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much. I'm aware that you're not the authority and sometimes you will need to go back to the relevant officers and the executive members, but there are a few questions that I do have. So just with the new ways of delivering housing on the council land, so the target for the review of the report and the recommendations were the 31st of August. Has that now been pushed back to an alternative date? Because obviously that date's gone.
Sorry, which page are you looking at?
Forgive me, page number 5 on the council delivery plan.
Right, sorry, I've got the agenda paper numbers on it, sorry.
Page 71 on the agenda.
So the milestones on here, this is new ways of delivering housing on council land. Yeah, just make sure I've got the right project. So yes, where the highlighted entries are, they're proposing to change those. So at the moment, the final date change is to the end of September. And there are no further milestones in this financial year at the moment, unless they choose to add new ones.
Okay.
The project.
Can I just
this is one thing that we discussed this morning, that we would say is it's ever so helpful if members of the committee actually give their questions in advance. It gives the officers a chance to actually find out the information, and like Matt did, to actually for you all to actually receive it and be able to think it through, because this is not easy stuff. So could I ask you to actually correspond with Rachel separately on this occasion, please, so we can continue with the agenda?
On this occasion, Chairman, or Madam Chair, I will do that. But as I said, it is important that the public expect us as councillors to hold officers and executive members to account. Where dates are slipping, we expect that actually we have information as to why those dates are slipping, as to when projects overrun or cost more than they're budgeted for. We need to make sure that actually we have answers, because it is taxpayers' money.
Yeah, well, that's what we're there for.
So no,
all
yes.
I'm saying is give notice, give everyone a chance to actually do the research, the background work, and to put the answer in a succinct manner, which then everyone can share. I'm sure that that is the way forward this year.
So long as my questions are included within the minutes of this meeting, I would be more than happy to do that. I think it is important that they are on the public record, because everything that we do is in the public interest.
As long as they're appropriate, certainly. Thank you. Should we go to recommendation? 2.1, that the committee notes the progress against council projects as set out in the council delivery plan, Appendix A, including changes to milestones, performance indicators and risks, and makes any recommendations or comments to Cabinet. 2.2, that the committee considers the presentation of the report for future meetings, especially in relation to milestones and project status, and makes any recommendations or comments to the Cabinet. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Billing, and a seconder, please. Councillor Wright Mason. Can we have the vote, please, James?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you. Item 12, overview and scrutiny work programme. Can hand over to Eleanor Hopcroft to present, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So just a short update on this item tonight. So the work programme report has been compiled from the report cycle, forward plan, actions from the LGA peer review, and conversations with the Chair, Vice Chair and relevant officers. As I mentioned earlier, the LGA peer report actions are now included at Appendix C to this report, so members can review the progress of the actions. I believe James mentioned this at the June meeting, so we've scheduled in the crime and disorder matters item for the meeting on the 29th of January 2024. If members could start to think about what topics they'd like to discuss at that meeting, and I will begin to canvass people to present at that meeting. The strategic housing policy update has been added to the work programme to be scheduled. I believe that was requested in March 2023. The enterprise update, there are ongoing conversations with the chair, vice chairs and officers about what updates are going to come to the committee next year, so I'll be able to update more on that later on. The call to account on Harkness Court has provisionally been scheduled for November. Conversations with the chair, vice chair and officers are ongoing on that. A pre-meeting briefing will also be scheduled before the November's committee to discuss areas of investigation into that. So yeah, any suggested topics for the work programme for this year would be greatly appreciated. That's all from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Any comments or questions from members? I know quite a lot of this is thinking for the future. Councillor Levitt.
Yeah, it's going to be tight on the dates, but just looking. Yeah, the update on the forward plan, the update of the common housing allocation scheme is something I'd like to take a look at. The decision date is 14th November and overview and scrutiny is on the 7th. So I know it's a bit tight, but I think that would be an interesting one for us to bring, and the biodiversity strategy, which is very important.
So the first one you want to look at is
the Common Housing Register before it goes to Cabinet. The update to the allocations scheme. And the second one is the biodiversity strategy before it goes to Cabinet.
Yes.
So yeah, I can add that in to be scheduled. The biodiversity strategy, there's been some delays with that, so that won't be coming to the Cabinet in November, but I will put that on note, so when it does come, we can schedule it in.
Thank you. Councillor Munster.
Thank you. With the invitation to settle, has that invitation been sent?
Yes, that was sent this week. I'll keep you updated on that.
I think many of us will find it very, very useful. I know sort of at the moment there are a number of constituents of mine of whom, are having issues with settle. I'm sure that's certainly not, uncommon across the district. I think it would be very useful. So thank you.
Thank you. Keep to the point, please. I was going to say that Councillor Albert and myself went to settle last week, and we were to talk about the progress of one of their programmes, and one thing they did offer, which I've not yet shared with Elizabeth or anybody else, is that they would like to present to us their their plan for the carbon zero for their housing, which looks really, really exciting. So we probably will have two things going on there with Settle. The one very specific, one with general, but say that is hot news, hot off the press on that one. Any other questions? Okay. So the recommendation 2.1, that the committee prioritises topics for inclusion in the work programme attached as Appendix A, and where appropriate, determines the high-level form and timings of scrutiny input. 2.2, that the committee, having considered the most recent iteration of the forward plan as attached as Appendix B, suggests a list of items to be considered at its meetings in the coming civic year. 2.3, that the corporate peer challenge action plan as attached as Appendix C be considered. So we've got a bit of homework yet to do on 2.2. Those recommendations. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Billing, and a seconder. Councillor Levitt. Could we go to the vote, please, James?
Thank you, Chair. That motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. So that's the end of our business tonight. I'm about to close the meeting. The next Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting is on the 7th of November 2023. Thank you.